Hornby's new HM7000 decoder. Will it fit in this 08? Will it work on the Z21? Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, good morning everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly Model Railways. Now, I did say that I was going to do a second video in this Easter holiday where I'd be looking at the 08 and fitting this Hornby sound decoder. Now, I was hoping that in the last couple of days since this video, the power pack might have arrived. Sadly, it hasn't, but there's still a possibility that it might come between the posting of this, or the making of this video, and the posting of the video. So we'll see how it goes, and if it does come, I'll just put the bit on the end of the video so you can see that as well. Anyway, I've downloaded the Hornby app from there ready, and I've got my loco cradle ready, and as you've seen, I've already got the decoder. Now, what I'm not going to do in this video is go through every step-by-step process of setting this thing up. What I am going to do is show how it fits. If it fits, of course, if the decoder fits into the locomotive. If it doesn't, I'm wondering why they've put the 08 sound on the system, but hopefully that should work. Setting up the speaker, because I don't think many people have shown that. A lot of people have shown the process of setting up the app, but I'm more interested in then setting up with the Z21 just down there. It's claiming that all the settings are stored on the decoder, so therefore any DCC controller should be able to pick it up. That's my understanding. So let's see how well that works. See you in a minute. Right, here we go then. So there are 4 screws to undo, and it's the outer 2 here. Okay, those of you who are familiar with these, you'll know what I'm on about, but that little wire needs to come out like that. I just poke it up, and then hopefully the whole thing should then just prise off. Yeah, there we go, like so. Okay, so let's get the decoder out the box. So as you've probably seen from a number of other channels, you get a German instruction manual. And then there is a declaration of conformity, load of speaker enclosures, the decoder itself, and obviously a little sugar-clued speaker. One of the things I want to do with this, because as you'll notice, it's exposed, and the motor on the 08 is obviously made of metal. Right, as you'll see, I've got the decoder out of the packet and being very gentle not to actually touch the decoder itself. I'm handling it by the wires, but I am going to give it a covering of some Kapton tape. So just gently press and then just rotate it around. Like so. It doesn't have to be particularly tight, so I just feel safer handling it with some form of covering over it. So let's identify pin 1, and that's the one in the bottom left hand corner. Right, I've got that in there, and it looks like it's going to fit nicely. I will tidy this up and put some tape over that shortly, and I'm hoping that when the power pack comes, I'll be able to store it in the roof here. This part of the cab lifts off, so I can gain access and just poke the wires up through this little hole here, through there. So let's go ahead and put the speaker in. I've exposed a little bit of the 2 sockets there, because obviously I should be using both of those. I think we've got, well, we've certainly got that amount of space in there, probably up towards the inside edge of that exhaust port. So let's have a look and see which enclosure fits in there. Right, now I've experimented with lots of different ones. I was even trying to get that one in, but I think the distance from the front edge of that to the frame or the buffer beam, and you've got this motor pin coming out the motor there, so that obviously limits the amount of space you can have for the speaker. So the only option I've got is this one. If I cut it down a little bit, if I take a little bit off the length of this and then glue another piece of plastic card to the edge of that, I think that will be fine. What happens is you've got a sticky pad on the motor there, on the speaker, sorry, and then that will stick on there like that. Obviously you've got an open side there as well, and that's where that piece comes in, and you glue that to that as well. So there's the enclosure as it is so far. As you can see, I've just cut it down, and obviously not the speaker end, the box end if you like. And I'm now going to cut the excess away and get it all nice and smooth. And now file it. Right, with the enclosure finished now, I'm turning my attention to the actual making this work. Now, as I said before, I'm not going to go too far in with this. There's only one socket it will go in. You've got a 2-pin socket and a 3-pin socket. So obviously that one there is for the power pack. So my first job then is just to make sure that the locomotive actually works. Right, just thought I'd better refer to the instructions where we are. Now, this bit talks about just fitting the decoder, making sure you follow the manufacturer's instructions, which I have. Then you plug in these two items. Now, I'm still waiting for this. As you know, I've plugged in the speaker. It then says go to, for DCC control, power your track, which is what I've done. Not that you can tell from that point, but it says then you are ready to control your locomotive. So let's see if it works. So I'll position the camera so you can see the iPad, and we'll take it from there. Right, I've just moved the camera a little bit. So let's see if it works on number 3. So I've got my test loco programmed to 3, and all the functions are listed as just numbers. Well, it did start working. Oh, look alive. Well, there is power there, obviously. All right, I'll stop it before it stretches on that speaker. Take it back the other way. Well, so it works. I'm not using the app, I'm using the Z21. All right, like I said before, I'm not going to go through everything, but I'm just going to see if it links. So start the scan and see if it finds it. Well, it's found a decoder error. Still scanning. Right, that literally just took about another 10 seconds after I stopped the cam. So it's asking for firmware updates now, and that's obviously updating. Catch you in a second. All right, I'm being asked now, would I like to fetch and import the latest locomotive profile? I think that's the word they're using for sound, so yes, and I'm going to click that. Well, you can see initially it said 6 hours, and then within a second or so it dropped it down to 6-7 minutes. Obviously that depends on your internet connection, so I'll be back shortly. All right, that took just under 7-8 minutes, as it said. So it's now saying the sound is installed. So I'm going to dismiss that, and let's see if it now works on the Z21. So I'm going to go back to this, press function 1. This is where I realised that there is a switch where you switch from Bluetooth to DCC. Right, so I've gone back to, let's go back to that screen there just by pressing that. And then I've discovered locomotive settings. And if I go to DCC, there we go. So hopefully now, let's see if this works. Well, I'll move it to a better part of the track. As you can see, it's running a lot better now. And I think you can pick it out behind the 66 as well. Welcome back. So it's finally arrived. That's it. Okay, so it's now a case of opening up the 08 again and working out a way of putting it in. So again, very gently easing off the body, like that. And I'm hoping to put it in the cab. Now this cab lifts off, so gently putting my fingernails underneath each sides, and then it eases up. There's a little channel, so you can see this edge down here, and that fits in a channel down both sides like that. So I'm hoping that I can mount it in there. Right, so I'm just going to put it in with a bit of black tack. Now I've got to be careful of this detail just there, so it's a case of mounting it more in the middle. So it's going to go more there, trying to not press on anything important. That's it. Now I'm just going to check that that will actually go down. On investigation, the power pack was hitting part of the bulkhead, the bit that sticks out at the bottom, and obviously it won't go down any further, so I had to rethink completely about where I was going to put this power pack. Right, I've managed to get that bulkhead off. It was just glued in a couple of places, so that will enable me to pull that wire through there, like that, and then I can glue that bulkhead back on, and then hopefully the wires should feed back up through. Right, another revision. I had problems getting it past this part of the bulkhead down here, and obviously, as I said before, that piece of detail was in the way. So it just dawned on me that actually if I pop it there on the floor, inside there, that cab will now sit, shouldn't interfere with anything. And I can still, if I want to, put a driver in there, which I probably will at some point. You're probably saying to me, why aren't you doing it now? Well, they're not painted, I can't be bothered at the moment. So that gives me the wire out through there. Now all I've got to do now is connect it into that socket just there, and put the wire on. Well, that is the installation complete, apart from putting the body back on. But you'll see me here shining the light onto the speaker, and I'm showing the fact that I've put the speaker so that it is facing the motor, put some Kapton tape around it so that it won't short out on the pin coming out. But because there's a recess there, it's actually created a gap so that the pin can sit, there's space for the pin to be there, and I've black tacked it at the top of the motor and onto the chassis as well, so the speaker should be fairly well fixed there. Right, my question was at the beginning, can I get this set up working on the Z21 and just enjoy it as part of the main layout, or do I have to have one loco running on Bluetooth separately, which would be really annoying? So let's start her up. And what a difference that is, I tell you. Now let's just get it moving a little bit. So I've just obviously just put the throttle up on the Z21. Look. Again, once the power pack comes, I'm not really worried by that. It's a short wheelbase loco. It's going to happen from time to time. But you can see it's working. Function 4 seems to be the brakes, and they are annoying, I have to be honest. Let's bring it back a little bit. I'll see if I can turn it down somewhere as well. I might be able to, if I switch it back to the Bluetooth control, and then might be able to describe the functions, I don't know. And stop it. Now, on the Z21 iPad, I have set up what I call Test Loco, which is address 3, but it's got all the functions from 0 through to 28. So any loco that I put on with address 3, I can just test any of the functions that I like. Now, to set up the 08, what I've done is duplicated that by going to the main page, and at the bottom it says duplicate. So you can see now I'm then going to go into that and change the address and change the name of the locomotive, and you'll also see me in a moment actually taking a photograph. I am going to go to this particular portion here where the black dot is, go to camera, and then take a photo of the 08. In fact, I'll zoom in on it a little bit more, like that. Use photo. And then all I need to do, well, I can zoom down these parts here, and I can set my speed steps. I can even set it to Motorola control if I want to. Well, I don't see why I would, but it's possible. And then I'm going to leave that, I'm going to call that, thought I'd done that, but class 08. And then I can go to the functions, and all the functions that I had as the test loco are all there. So I know that if I click on number 1 and press, it starts up. So what I've got to do now is go into all the functions one at a time, work out what I want to keep and ones that I don't want to use, and then put in the symbols for each one and put in some kind of label so I know what each one is and what it refers to. Okay, and then hopefully we should be good to go. Right, so you can see the 08 just there, and you can also see I've got the Z21 now. I've gone through all the sound functions, and you get those on the Hornby app. You download those separately. So you download the sound profile, and that installs to the locomotive. And you download the separate sound list, if you like to put into your controller. So obviously then when you press the button on that Hornby app, you can do that. You press the sound straight away. Now, obviously, Z21 has been doing that for years, I've already set up. So let's have a listen. Now, first of all, just do a straight start. And I tell you what, I am so impressed with that sound. That you saw me, well, not kind of build the sound enclosure, but you certainly saw the steps I went through to get that. And then I wrapped it in tape, in insulating tape, and then I stuck the sound speaker directly to the sound enclosure using the double-sided tape that was provided. So I didn't glue that, I didn't wrap tape around it, I just literally just stuck it on with the tape, and I'm so impressed with this. I really am. If I just start moving that off a little bit, I'm not going to take it far. In fact, I'll stop it there. There is a brake function, which is that. So I'm just press and hold that. Reverse and just bring it back. And I'll stop, and I'll just press the brake function. Okay, now I'll talk about the cold start and all the rest of it in a minute, but your primer, well, actually I'll talk about all 4 of those in a minute. So horns first. and detonators. You've got a reversing handle. Flange squeal, I'll set it going. Oh, you can hear it. Actually, when that's going, actually, that's not bad, to be honest. Couple. It's possible I've got the wrong address for that. I'll check that. And obviously your brake function just there. Go to page 2. Spirex valves. I mean, they sound just like they do on every loco, don't they? Air. Well, that's your compressor. Exhauster. Not sure what that is. Sounds a bit creepy, doesn't it? Notch up. See, it's got a reasonable number of sounds in there. There are a lot of lighting functions, as I've said, but I think for what I want, that's absolutely fine. Now, this cold start, so I'll set it off. Right, you've got a primer, which is just there. And then your cold start, which you just press. And then, so I've got the primer going and the cold start. Now I press the sound. And then it starts up. Okay, and you can turn off the primer at that time as well. Okay, so that, I'm really happy with that, particularly if you want to do the cold start sound. Now, the thing that I've never seen on another decoder before, which kind of sets this one apart a little bit, is this automatic sound. Now, hopefully I can get it working properly, but press that, and I'm not going to do anything other than just set it going. Now that sound, that horn was automatic. And it just brings in random sounds as it feels like it. Now, testing it earlier on, I did have detonators going off, the compressor went off, and all sorts of random sounds. It ain't going to do it now, is it? So I'm going to stop it. So as you can see, I think that sounds absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to lie. Certainly spending a bit of time on the sound enclosure has certainly made a massive difference, and I didn't expect that at all. There are a number of things that you can do directly on the Hornby app, and then you can transfer it across to DCC. I'm presuming now that I can operate this directly from DCC. I can put it on a programming track and program it on DCC. The only thing you've got to be aware of is that if you transfer it back to Bluetooth again, and the settings are different on both apps, it will revert back to what the Hornby app has got on it. So if you set an address on DCC and then you switched it back to Bluetooth, it will automatically switch back to address 3 if you haven't changed it on the Hornby app. So as long as those two match, there won't be any problems switching it from one to the other. Talking as promised, a little bit of running, and again on the Z21, so start up the sound. Just do a quick start up, and just so you can see, I'm going to set it really low. I'm going to be really unfair to it. Let's see how it gets on. So in theory, it should cross all of these points now. So there's obviously this one, and I won't take off the eyes off it so you can see it, but there's another one just there, which you'll see shortly. So approaching the first point now. And it hasn't jutted or murmured, has it? I have to say, this is impressive. So it's pretty much cleared the first point. Going over the one right in front of the camera now. Well, it's negotiated the second quite well. So 2 out of 2 so far. And approaching the third. There you go, as promised. And then it'll go out through the tunnel. And it's still going, it's not stopping, it's not murmuring. Well, I have to be honest, that's going to make it by the looks of it without any problems at all. And it does look like Hornby are on a winner here. Now, the only downside that I can see at the moment is the number of sound profiles on the website. There are probably about a dozen steamers, give or take, and probably about 7, 8 diesels. So obviously that's going to increase in time, and the system will only get better and better in time, I think. But that's certainly working. Let's stop it and bring it back a little bit quicker now. Well, I'm just bowled over by it. I'm so impressed. I didn't think it would be quite that good, to be honest. But anyway, I'll leave the video there. Take care of yourself. See you soon. Bye now.